my God. Oh my God, unite the hearts of thy servants and reveal to them thy great purpose. May they follow thy commands and abide in thy law. Help them, O God, in their endeavor. Grant them strength to serve thee, O Lord. Leave them not to themselves, but guide their steps by the light of thy knowledge, and cheer their hearts with thy love. Verily, thou art the helper. And the Lord.
The fundamental purpose animating the faith of God and His religion is to safeguard the interests and promote the unity of the human race, and to foster the spirit of love and fellowship amongst men. As the life of humanity undergoes a process of profound change, across the globe, followers of Baha'u'llah, in the company of their friends, are striving with great enthusiasm to put into practice his teachings. Working shoulder to shoulder with neighbors and colleagues, they are learning how to build vibrant and prosperous communities that begin to reflect a united and illumined new world.
The revelation of Baha'u'llah has the power to transform society. For the last many decades, we've been learning how to take that revelation and apply it in order to affect the spiritual and material progress of society. Around 20 years ago, we reached a turning point. A process that started to unfold was the systematic training of individuals to build their capacity in order to be effecting change in their communities.
ធ្វើឲ្យមនុស្សទូទៅបានភាគច្រើនដែលគេបានឆ្លងកាត់ជាឋានហ្នឹងបានធ្វើឲ្យគេបានកសាងសមត្ថភាពរបស់ពួកគេផ្លាស់ប្ដូរពួកគេទៅជាការផ្លាស់ប្ដូររបស់ពួកគេហ្នឹងគឺការជួយទៅដល់អ្នកដទៃការបម្រើទៅដល់អ្នកដទៃ
We have now this tool, this instrument of limitless potentialities that is helping us to develop our capabilities to actually translate what has been written in Baha'u'llah's writings into very practical action. And maybe then the question before us now is how do we bring more and more friends into this process so that together as a collective we can really advance in our capacity.
Vamos a memorizar una cita. Cita de Baha'u'llah es una cita muy bella que nos va a enseñar a tener un corazón puro. Oh, hijo del Espíritu.
Tunashukuru kwa kufika kuona Hope. Au succès gani ushapata depuis ça ulianza kufungula kope hapo ya Baha'i.
युवा भनेको चाहिँ यस्तो अवस्था हो जस्तो कि वसन्तकाल जस्तो हैन त्यो अवस्थामा हामीहरू जे पनि गर्न सक्छौँ चाह्यौँ भने युवाहरू हैन अनि युवा भनेको एउटा निर्भीक सिंह जस्तै हो त्यसकारणले चाहिँ हामी युवाहरू त्यो युवा भइसकेपछि हामीहरू के त आफ्नो समाजको लागि केही न केही राम्रो काम गर्नुपर्ने छ त्यसको त्यो जुन राम्रो नैतिक उद्देश्यको बारेमा हामी उनीहरूसँग कुरा गर्न सक्छौँ.
In October 2017, people from every walk of life gathered in homes and halls, parks and universities to celebrate the bicentenary of the birth of Baha'u'llah.
When I think about the bicentenary celebrations, I think one of the things that we've seen is how ready people are now to speak of the life of Baha'u'llah and of his teachings directly, and how ready people are to hear them. And I think that has been a change.
Baha'u'llah ha traído estas herramientas para realmente transformar nuestras vidas individuales y colectivas. El Bicentenario nos llevó a otro nivel de acción colectiva.
As more and more souls learn to apply the Baha'i approach to building vibrant communities, populations around the world are increasingly spurred into action, learning to take charge of their own development.
Baha'u'llah, además de que nos da ese sentido de propósito, ya como individuos, nos indica claramente cómo podemos cumplir ese propósito en base a las interacciones que tengamos con los demás. Uno ve personas, uno ve grupos, uno ve comunidades donde la llegada, ¿no?, de las enseñanzas Bahá'ís fue el punto de partida hacia nuevos niveles de mejor calidad de vida.
My grandmother was entirely of African blood. She was a slave in South Carolina. Her white master kept her as mistress and made her pregnant with my mother. After my mother was born, she too became a slave on her white father's plantation. After the Civil War, my grandmother and mother were freed. The most common response to oppression is to hate or to stay put in one's place. But my grandmother's response was to raise a grandson who could not be intimidated. She was illiterate, but she schooled me in dignity and courage. She taught me that whites were not just the oppressor, but also my playmates, my school teachers, and my grandfather. She taught me the truth, the whole truth, that my people had suffered and continue to suffer from prejudice and injustice. But whites were my people too. But a young man gets angry when he sees hundreds of lynchings every year. White mobs would destroy Negro property and nothing would be done. My grandmother had saved my heart from bitterness for the white man, but she could not save my mind from suspicion from him. I began outlining strategies for black action. I was influenced by W.E.B. Du Bois and his cry for civil rights. Religion held no interest for me at this point. I had been seeking but not finding the truth, and so had given up. But when I met Abdu'l-Baha, my vision changed. The shining reality of the Master, the personification of all Baha'i ideals, beckoned to me, and I became a confirmed believer. Abdu'l-Baha expressed the hope that I would become the means whereby the white and black people would close their eyes to racial differences. I took his words to heart and obeyed them as command. I abandoned my profession as a lawyer and became a racial amity worker. The majority of my friends thought that I had become mentally deranged, unbalanced. A leading Washington newspaper gave me 2 columns of ridicule for becoming a Baha'i. But all this I could bear. What pained me more was the fact that the Baha'is were still holding segregated meetings. Washington, D.C. was a thoroughly segregated society. Even the churches were segregated. But if this was a new religion dedicated to unity, why were its believers divided? Baha'u'llah's writings said this was wrong. Why did the Baha'is not meet all together in one place? Are the Baha'is full of prejudice like other people? Abdul Baha again came to my rescue. He insisted that the Baha'is hold integrated meetings. But Abdul Baha did not stop with the Baha'is. While he was in Washington, a formal luncheon was planned in his honor at the Persian embassy. Alexander Perry, the North Pole explorer, and Alexander Graham Bell were just two of the prominent people in attendance. Now, place cards have been set out next to all the plates in order to seat people according to strict Washington protocol. But at the last moment, just as the guests were about to be seated, Abdul Baha gathered up all the cards. He shuffled them and then redistributed them around the table. He then took me by the hand and led me to the head of the table, to the place of honor. And this at an almost all-white luncheon. I had been taken to new heights by the Master. With one light and loving gesture, Abdul Baha pointed out the foolishness of prejudice and segregation both. Abdul Baha urged me to become the means whereby the white and black people would close their eyes to racial difference. He told me not to look upon my limited capacity, but upon the bounties of the Lord. He also introduced me to Miss Louisa Matthew, a Baha'i from London, a white woman. Abdul Baha mentioned in our presence that interracial marriage was a good way to end racial prejudice. I remembered the words of my grandmother. The whites are not just your oppressors. They're also your playmates, your teachers, and your grandfather. On September the 27th, 1912, in New York City, the city of the covenant, I was married to Louisa Matthew.